Fancy living in Spain? Join the Language and Culture Assistance Program of the Education Office of the Spanish Embassy. It offers a fantastic opportunity to spend a school year in Spain as an assistant teacher, sharing your language and knowledge with Spanish students K through 12 and adults.
Con ella aprender inglés es estupendo. Chloe es la mejor.
I got medical insurance and a monthly allowance to help pay for accommodation and expenses, and I really think that this experience will help with my career in the future.
Spain also offers you amazing travel and cultural possibilities.
I couldn't have imagined this was going to be such a life-changing experience.
And what about the food?
And the lively streets.
And the wonderful people.
Yo he mejorado mucho mi español.
Don't miss this opportunity. Learn more about the Language and Culture Assistance Program of the Education Office of the Embassy of Spain.
And grow as you share.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to our NALCAP webinar, How to Apply to NALCAP 2024 edition. We're so happy to have you here today. We're going to give you a general overview of the program and then take as many of your questions as we can. I'd like to introduce to you part of the NALCAP team that's here with us today. We have Nuria in New York, Iseo in Houston, Juan in Indianapolis, and Yosu in LA. And we're very fortunate to have one of our interns here, Madeline, who's currently doing the program in Madrid. All right, so they're going to be taking care of the technical part of the webinar and also answering your questions. Okay, so just so that you know the format of the webinar, I'll be sharing a PowerPoint presentation with you, and then we'll go on to the questions. Please make sure to put all the questions in the Q&A section of the Zoom, and then we'll be putting in some important links in the chat. Okay. All right, so I am going to share my screen. Okay, so NALCAP stands for North American Language and Culture Assistance Program, and this is for the 2024-2025 school year. NALCAP is an educational outreach initiative of the Ministry of Education of Spain that offers American and Canadian college students and graduates the opportunity to be teaching assistants in Spain in classrooms all across the country. The skills acquired through this experience are really going to leave a deep international impact on the returning language assistant. And this can be put to use, whether it be in the field of teaching, in business, or any other, and as well as personal growth and development. I always like to stress this aspect because it's really important. This opportunity really gives you a chance for personal growth and development. You're going to go to Spain, a different person that you come back. And it's all going to be very positive. So it's going to be a very, very good opportunity for that. Okay, so participants in the program assist lead teachers in the teaching of the English language and possibly French for Canadian citizens and the culture of the US and Canada, while at the same time being immersed in the language and culture of Spain. And this obviously promotes a cultural link between the citizens of these countries. What exactly will you be doing? Well, in most schools, you'll be a teacher assistant under the guidance and supervision of lead teachers in the English or French as a world or foreign language program at that school. In other schools, you may be involved in being a TA in other school subjects taught in English and French. This is a methodology that is used in some schools that has really proven to have a high success rate, right? To teach another school subject in a foreign language. So these subjects could be social studies, science, tech, art, or PE. And this is always if the school is part of a bilingual program. So that's really going to depend on the school. Okay, so what will you be doing? Your tasks will include conducting conversation lessons. Here, we really want to emphasize speaking and listening skills. You're going to be a linguistic role model for your students. They're going to hear you talk. They're going to hear your pronunciation, your intonation, how you use your grammar and vocabulary while speaking. And this is proven to be an excellent resource to students learning a foreign language. And this is the reason why the government of Spain invests so much in this program, to have that resource right in the language classroom. Okay. Another thing you'll be doing is giving cultural presentation. So for example, when November rolls around, your teacher might ask you to prepare something on Thanksgiving, because Thanksgiving is a holiday that's only celebrated in the United States and in Canada. And so even though students in Spain probably know about Thanksgiving because they've seen it on TV shows or in movies, you're going to be there firsthand telling them about this cultural holiday, right? So that's going to be very important also. You might attend department meetings, or you might also be involved in extracurricular activities. Okay, placement types. You might be placed in any of these three types of schools. You might be placed in elementary schools. You do have to keep in mind that in Spain, elementary schools also include early childhood programs, because children in Spain begin to go to school at the age of 3. Okay, so that's something to keep in mind. If you're placed in elementary school, most likely you'll be also teaching in early childhood programs. You might be placed in a secondary school. Secondary schools in Spain include middle school and high school. They're not separate the way they are in the States. They're all lumped together. And then you might be placed in a language school. A language school is a network of schools that Spain has where only languages are taught. So in that school, they'll teach French and German and Chinese and Japanese, and English is the language that has most students at those schools. Here, your students will usually be older teenagers or adults, and your schedule might be a little different, relying more heavily on afternoon and early evenings, okay? So that's another thing to keep in mind. Let's go through the program requirements, even though I'm sure you're familiar with them. You have to be a US or a Canadian citizen and have a valid US or Canadian passport for at least 3 months after the end of the program. Okay, so if the end of the program is the end of May or the end of June of 2025, your passport has to go on 3 months after that, okay? We'll talk a little bit more about that later on in the webinar. You have to have a conferred BA, BS, AA, or AS degree, or be enrolled as a sophomore, junior, or a senior in a BA or BS program. You have to be a native-like speaker of English and French if you're a Canadian citizen. You have to be in good physical and mental health and have a clean background check. These are requisites for your visa. These are requisites from the consulates of Spain. And you have to be aged 18 to 60. All right, then as a recommendation, we really recommend that you should have a basic level of Spanish for your personal use in everyday life. At the school, you'll be speaking English, and you should only speak English, because if the students hear you speaking in Spanish, then they'll want to address you in Spanish. So it's really important that at the school, you only speak in English. But obviously, in your personal life, for grocery shopping, for other types of shopping, it's important that you have a basic level of Spanish, okay? What are the conditions? You're going to have a schedule between 14 to 16 class periods a week. Every effort will be made by the school to give you a 3-day weekend. So if it's possible for the school schedule to either give you Friday or Monday off, they will do that so that you can pursue other interests or hobbies. There's a lot of people who are studying, people who have hobbies, people who like to travel. So every effort is made to give you that 3-day weekend. You will also receive a monthly stipend of about 800 to 1,000 euros, depending on the region of Spain that you are assigned. If you want more specific information on that, you can find it on our website, okay? So if you think 800 to 1,000 euros, it's not exactly this conversion rate that I'm going to do now, but $800 to $1,000 a month. And you might think, oh my God, I can't live on that. You will be able to live on that because the cost of living in Spain is much lower than in the United States, okay? So that's also important. And it's also important on where you're placed. Okay, because obviously the same as in this country or in any other country, if you're placed in a big city, your expenses are going to be higher, right? Than if you're placed in a smaller town. Okay, so we'll talk about that a little bit further on also. The good news is that you may supplement this grant with private classes, and we'll talk about that also. The length of the program is 8 months in all of Spain from October 1st to May 31st, except in Madrid, that goes on an extra month until the end of June. You have medical insurance included in your grant. Spain has universal health care, and so that's included in the program. Medication isn't included, but you're going to find that it's extremely affordable in Spain, sometimes even more affordable than here with insurance, okay? So that's not going to be an issue. You'll receive an orientation course at the beginning of the school year from your regional education office, and an official certificate upon the completion of the program. It's important when you complete the program to ask for this if you're not given it automatically, because you can only get this from your school or your regional education office. A lot of times we get asked if we can provide that, but we don't know the experience that you've had during your stay there. So this can only be provided by your school or your regional education office. You'll have paid school vacations. For example, we have a really long Christmas and Easter break. Obviously, when the school is closed, you're not expected to be there. You'll have an option to renew for a second year with a positive evaluation from the school. There's a 5-year max total in the program. You must find housing on your own. And then applicants have to select 3 preferred regional destinations in Spain. They're going to ask you this on the application. They're going to ask you, please choose your regional preferences to go to Spain. So there's 17 regions in Spain. It's a really good idea to do your research on this. And I do want to make sure that you understand that the placement options are never guaranteed. Every effort is made to accommodate your choices, but a lot is going to depend on when they get to your application, the placements that are available, and a lot of other variables like that, okay? All right, so make sure that you do your research. Here's a map of Spain with the 17 different regions. Take a look at it, take a look at different places, see if you'd rather be in a big city or a small town. Both have pros and cons. If you'd rather be nearer to the coast or in the mountains, it's important to do your research, okay? You may ask, why Spain? Well, I'm going to give you a couple of reasons. Okay, and if that wasn't enough, I'm going to share a testimonial now with you guys, a year in the life of a language assistant that was done by one of our past interns, showing her experience in the program during an entire year. So if you're interested in applying, it's really, really important that you take a really good look at our website. And by a really good look, I mean read absolutely everything that's on there, okay? There is a lot of information, but it's important for you to be well informed. For Canadian citizens, there's a link on there toward the Canadian website for NALCAP also, okay? And then also another thing that's really important that you do is to follow us on social media. Here is where we mainly keep you up to date with any news that is important that you should know, as well as sharing experiences and insights into the program. We have an Instagram account, a TikTok one, and a LinkedIn one. And we also have on Spotify 2 seasons of some podcasts, which are absolutely wonderful. They're language assistants talking about different experiences. And this is also going to give you a lot of information about the experience of a language assistant. Also, we have a link tree on our Instagram account that has a lot of links to a lot of important stuff, okay? So applications for the 2024 cycle will open on February 9th, 2024. That's right around the corner. Note that there are no application fees. It's totally free to apply, okay? So muchas gracias for listening, okay? And now we're gonna start with the questions, okay? Some of the questions that we've had in the chat while I was doing the presentation, okay? So there's one question here that talks about passports. It says, I need to renew my passport because it has expired. How can I apply for a position, okay? And then also what we discussed during the PowerPoint presentation, right? About it being valid 3 months after the end of the program. Juan, could you answer this, please? You're muted. You're muted.
Certainly, Lisa. Thank you very much. All applicants need a valid passport up until the very last day of the participation in NALCAP, but sometimes they need to renew it or they need a new one. So what they have to do is just to keep a copy of the old one, which is the one they have to upload together with the application, and a receipt of the application or the process for the new one, which is really important. That is the reason why we always recommend them to make a copy of the passport before sending it in to renew, as your username is your passport number, and it's extremely important also for the visa purposes, because when they receive the new one, they have to go. We kindly recommend them to go to our frequently asked and answered questions, and to check there is a particular email address. They need to contact a person from the Ministry of Education in Madrid, and they will take care of the correct update in that case.
Right.
Thank you.
That's
Thanks
right.
for your question.
No, thank you, Juan. Again, yeah, please refer to the website. Everything's explained there. So that's really important about the passports, okay? We have another question. Can I apply with a friend or be placed in the same school or region? Nuria, could you answer that question, please?
Yeah, sure. Well, if you'd like to be placed with a friend or significant other, please follow these steps. First, as Lisa explained, do some research together about the different regions in Spain, and then fill in the application your regions of preference in the same order as your friend. This is really important. Then after that, there is write a section after you've stated your regions of preference, where you can write the name and contact information of your friend. So please do it carefully to avoid making mistakes. Yeah, finally, this is very, very important. You must submit your application at the same time, because applications won't be reviewed until both of them are submitted. So the sooner you submit your application, the better to have your application reviewed and be offered a position. So yeah, do it carefully, but do it as fast as you can in order to have your application ready.
Right. Thank you, Nuria. Yes, they really, this year, the Ministry of Education is in charge of reviewing your applications. And they really stress that to us this year, that if you want to apply with someone else or 3 or 4 people, make sure you do it at the same time. That's really, really important.
And
Okay.
just one more thing, Lisa, because in the Q&A questions, they asked, several people asked about if they could apply for a specific school or region, like maybe a city or town. And unfortunately, no, you only apply for a region, not a school, and it is a Ministry of Education who assigns a placement regarding what you've already expressed in your preferences. So you cannot apply for a school, just for a region in Spain.
Okay, right. There's just one little nuance there. In the region, the Regional Education Office of Andalucía, which is in the south, which is where Seville and Granada and Malaga and all these incredible cities are, they do allow you to choose the school, right? The Ministry of Education is responsible for placing you in a certain region, and then it goes over to that regional government. To give you an idea, imagine here we have the Department of State, which is sort of a federal thing, but then each state has their own Department of Education. So this is, each region has its own Department of Education. So only in Andalucía or do they allow this for you to actually pick your school. Okay. Thank you so much for that, Nuria.
Yeah, thanks, Lisa.
Yeah, and I also, I'm seeing some questions about our portal, which is Profex. And on our website, we've said that there's going to be an update. This is what the Ministry of Education has told us. As of right now, we don't have any further information on that. As soon as we have information on that, we will let you know, okay? Because we know they're still working on it. Well, that's why it's so important to follow us on social media, because that's where we're going to give out probably the information. I don't know if some of you have heard that this year here in the United States, FAFSA, technical problems, and it was like until, they pushed it back till December, then they pushed it back till December 31st. So something like this might happen, but no worries, because we'll let you know as soon as they tell us, okay? And then also another thing that I want to mention about Profex while I'm on the subject is that almost always, and that's like 90% of the time, on the day that the application opens, it crashes, okay? So I want you all to keep that in mind. Now, what does that mean? It just means that you're going to have to keep on trying, okay? Please don't go crazy. It's important that you get your application in, but there's still a lot of time, and you just have to keep on trying, okay? And especially this year, if it's a new portal, we don't really know how it's going to work. Hopefully, it's new and shiny and it'll be great and it won't crash. But just in case it does, just please know to breathe and then just to keep on trying to get in, okay? All right, there's another question that we have also that says, how can I apply for my background check? Yosu, why don't you talk about that?
Hello, Lisa. Hello, everybody from sunny LA. I think you're doing a great job. Thank you very much for everything you are doing, for all the answers and everything. So I know this can be like a kind of tricky questions. Very often we get questions about how to get the background check on social media, via email, even when we go to our info sessions, when we do our info sessions at universities and colleges, we always get these questions, and we know that it may seem like really difficult. I promise you, it's not. Okay, so listen to me. I'm gonna give you good advice of how to deal with it. So first of all, you should visit our website and navigate to the how to apply for a visa section. And we have a video, I promise you, a very useful video with all the information about the steps you need to follow to get your background check. It's not so difficult, and it's very, very well explained on our website in this video. Don't forget that. Our website, how to apply for a visa section, okay? But just In a few words, you need to take your cell phone, for instance. You open a search engine, your favorite search engine, and you type FBI background check. Usually the first website that appears is the FBI background check website, but you have to make sure it's the official one. Once you get there, you have to answer some questions, you have to give some information, and you just need to follow the instructions that they give you there. And that's all. It's not as difficult as it seems. So Lisa, I think we answered this question, and I think it may be useful for everybody. Thank you.
Right. The
Thank
only
you,
thing I
Renee.
do want to note also, thank you, Yosu, is that last year, to get your apostle for the background check, the State Department was experiencing a lot of delays. Okay, so it's important that we'll tell you exactly when. We'll give you we'll guide you through that. But once you get a status on that portal that's called Plaza Aceptada, which means that you have received the region where you're going to get placed, that's when you start requesting the background check and then the apostille. Okay, we'll remind you again on social media. Don't worry about that, but that's important. Don't wait on it, because last year the Department of State was experiencing like 11-week delays. Okay, so it's really important. When we tell you to start requesting that, just do it immediately. Okay. Madeline, some people have been asking, like, how do we go about writing a signed statement of purpose? Can you help us with that?
Yes, I can. So my recommendation would be to think about your goals and how this program will help you get there. For some, it may be more straightforward. Like, for example, after this, you want to be a teacher. But for me, it wasn't that linear. So I studied healthcare, and I plan to pursue that afterwards in Los Angeles. And so it's definitely very valuable for me to know Spanish and to learn Spanish, and that's a big reason to why I came here.
Okay, thank you for that, Madeline. Can you just give us like what was your experience like applying?
Applying,
Like,
it was,
did you run into any roadblocks? What were there? What were they? What went more smoothly than not? Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
yeah, it was relatively smooth, but as you mentioned, waiting times could get in the way of things. But there was a tip, I think on the website, to reach out to your local, I want to say,
Yeah, your
um,
congressperson or
okay,
something.
yeah, I didn't want to say the wrong thing, but your congressperson, and I actually did that because I was worried and I was like, oh, they won't respond, but they responded immediately, and something that was supposed to take maybe 6 to 8 weeks took a week and a half to get back to me. So I really would recommend doing that too.
So that's where you experience probably the biggest roadblock in that
Yeah.
in the apostille. There's nothing we can do there because those are American offices. Okay, so I want to make that perfectly clear. Okay, but we will guide you. We will guide you through that. Okay, some people are asking who can write a recommendation letter for me. Madeline, I don't know if you want to take that one. Even though we do have information on the website on that.
Yeah, for me, I had a professor write my recommendation because I was just finishing my last year of college. And I was a teaching assistant for him, so I thought it was very applicable experience. So that's a great option.
Right. Professors are great options, employers, mentors, anything like that. And one thing that I do want to make really clear here with the recommendation letter that we do state it on the website, but every year we get questions on this. Your recommender has to write the letter and then give it back to you for you to upload it on the program. I know on the portal. I know that's not how things work here in the United States, but that's how Profix works, okay? So make sure no exceptions can be made. Make sure that your recommender knows that after they write the letter, they're going to have to give it back to you so that you could upload it on Profix, okay? That's really, really important. Okay, people are asking, do we have to find our own accommodation? Yes, right? I mentioned that. in the presentation that I did. We'll talk a little bit, we'll offer another webinar in the summer where we'll talk more about these kind of questions when you're closer getting over to Spain, okay? Our goal here today is sort of guide you through the application process, all right? So do know that you do have to find accommodation on your own, but we'll give you some tips in the summer webinar that we have. And Madeline, a lot of people also ask, and even though we might be able to answer this again in the summer webinar, I think it's important that they get an idea, like, how do you meet people? Like, you're thinking of doing the program, you want to go over, but you're going over by yourself. How do you meet people?
Yes, so I personally didn't know anyone going into this program, and I didn't know anyone in Madrid either. So if that's deterring you, don't let it. So I joined a Facebook group and was able to get into a WhatsApp group chat, and that's how I met a lot of people. And then there's also at your school, there may be other AUXes too who you'll meet as well. I have 2 other AUXes at my school. There's also language exchanges. Everyone is in the same boat and everyone wants to get to know each other. So don't worry about it at all.
Right, for sure, for sure. That's really good advice. Okay, someone's asking about the time zone for when the application's open. We do say it on the website, but that's a good question. So it's going to be midnight in Spain. Okay, so then that means that Eastern time is 6 hours less. Okay, so the applications will be open at 6 p.m. on February 9th. Eastern. Don't make me go through the other time zones because I usually make mistakes, okay? But just know that it's a 6 hour difference less on the Eastern coast, okay? So that's when it's going to be open, all right? Let's see. Someone asked us, for example, how many language assistants choose to repeat or come back to the program. We have a 30% turnover rate on this. So that's a really, really high rate of the program. I do want to emphasize here also that, the main goal of the program, as I mentioned in the presentation, is to bring native-like speakers into the classroom as a resource for your listening and your speaking skills, among others. And I want you guys also to be aware that you're going to encourage students to broaden their knowledge of your language and culture. You're going to be a cultural ambassador representing your country. So that's really, really important. And I think that's important that you keep that in mind, okay? Somebody else is asking, will we be able to continue our studies with our university at the same time of the program? Just as long as you know that NALCAP is your priority, that's fine. You have to talk to your university, though, about that possibility because each college is totally different, okay? On our side, it's fine. Whatever you do outside of your hours at the school, and that has to be a priority for you. We've had questions in the past, people doing masters, and would they be able to go to their master's classes while doing the program? That's all going to depend on the school. You can always ask the school, but the school, it depends on the schedule. They might not be able to provide you with that flexibility. They're going to hopefully accommodate it if they can, but if they can't, that won't be possible. So you need to know that your first priority is to the NALCAP program, and anything you do outside of that is fine by us, okay? Let's see. There's people asking about if they're dual citizens and visa concerns. If you're a dual citizen with any country in the EU, you can apply. It's wonderful. And what that helps you with is that you do not have to go through the visa process, okay? Only for dual citizens. So that information is addressed on our website in the frequently asked questions. So make sure that you take a look at that, okay? Okay, there's another question, Madeline, if you can help us with. How long before starting officially did you arrive in Spain? This again might be a question for the summer webinar, but I'd like people to get an idea about it. Remember that your starting date will be October 1st, right?
Yes, I arrived about 2 weeks beforehand, which I think was a good amount of time to completely get settled with housing, your phone, your bank, because I think it's just best to do all that before you start. But it definitely is, if you can't do that, it is manageable. But I would recommend getting there around 2 weeks beforehand.
Right, I think that's a really good suggestion. And like how, just really roughly, what did you do when you got there early?
When I got there
What
early,
did you use those 2 weeks for?
my main focus was on housing. Um, because I'm in Madrid, it's a bit more competitive to get housing. So that was the main focus and what I think the most amount of your time is gonna go towards.
Right, exactly. You know, a lot of people apply to big cities and that's wonderful, but please know that that's going to be a lot more expensive. A lot more expensive for your housing, for your food, for your daily living expenses, right? And then the small towns, you won't have that. Probably you're going to be able to stretch the grant out more and stuff, and you're going to get a real immersion experience in the small town. You would agree, right, Madeline?
Yeah, I would definitely agree.
Okay, all right, good. Okay, someone asked if you are accepted to the program but then cannot attend, can you defer your acceptance to the following year? No, we do not accept deferments. You would just have to withdraw from the program. But also, please keep in mind that there might be a school that then doesn't have that language assistant available, and they may get stuck the whole year without the language assistant. Okay, so you can apply and see how life is going for you and all of that, but you cannot be deferred on that. Okay, then someone was asking also, can you confirm the regions that will be offered this year? As far as we know, it's the same ones as last year. On our website, you have the regions and you have the number of positions that are there. About 2 years ago, we insisted, you know, that to have this transparency on our website because there were a lot of people who wanted to apply for in Catalonia, where Barcelona is located, but they only have 30 positions. So it's important that you know this with your strategy of the different preferences, the different regional preferences that you might have. So it's important to take a good look at that. Somebody also asked us if they have some sort of illness or disease or chronic illness, if that is a reason to be placed in a bigger city. Unfortunately, it's not that. They don't give preferences to that. So there, I would suggest applying and then, you know, see what you get and then make the decision from there. Okay. So Madeline, a lot of people ask, for example, how much money is recommended to save before you start the program. On our website, we say about $3,000, but it depends so much on each person, right? So how would you answer that?
Yes, it definitely depends, and it also depends if you're in a bigger city or a smaller city. Like Lisa said, expenses are gonna be higher naturally in a bigger city, like where I am. And it's also, especially with housing too, it's important to consider you're gonna have to put down a deposit. Um, and again, it'll be more in a bigger city. So definitely consider that into how much you want to save.
Okay, thank you. There's someone asking, I just saw it popped up, like, should you wait until you're physically in Spain to look for the housing? Again, that's a question for the summer, but I'm always so worried about this question that the answer is yes, 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 and yes, okay? Do not get anything before you go to Spain. You need to be there. You need to see the apartment. You need to see where it's located. Madeline, would you agree with me?
Yes, 1000%. Definitely would
Yeah.
recommend that.
Right, right. Okay, another question. Do you get to choose who you want to work with, secondary or primary students? The answer is yes. As far as we know, that question will be on the portal this year. But then once you get your regional placement, once the ministry, so let me just explain a little bit the process. Hopefully it can help. What we do here, the Education Office of the Embassy of Spain, we promote the program. And then we guide you through the application process. And then we also hold that webinar in the summer to help you with things getting ready to go to Spain. But it's the Ministry of Education that reviews the applications, okay? And then there was a question on that said, if there's a mistake or something like that, they'll reach out and contact you, okay? If there's something missing or if there's a mistake, they'll reach out and contact you. And so then what the Ministry of Education does, once they review all of your application documents, they place you in a region, okay? In one of those 17 regions of Spain. And once they do that, everything goes over to that regional education office, okay? So for example, before we were talking about Andalusia. What do they do in Andalusia? They give you access to a platform where you can pick your school. As far as we know, the other regions don't do that. Each of them have their own way of organizing that. Okay, so that's important to know and to keep in mind. Okay, so once you get that regional placement, then you can ask them about like primary or secondary. You can reach out to them. Their email addresses, their contact information is on our website, and you can reach out to them and ask them, can I be placed in primary? Can I be placed in secondary? Again, no guarantees, no guarantees. Some regions might be more accommodating, others not. There's no guarantees, but you can always ask, right? Someone's asking if it can be, if the position can be in another language. No, the answer is no. American citizens only, English, Canadian citizens, English or French. Okay, even if you're native in another language, that doesn't happen. Does the program usually fill up? Last year, we were able to offer placements to everyone who applied. We actually went through the whole list. Okay, so it is important to get, it is on a first come, first served basis. Somebody was also asking if they had teaching experience, if that's a preference. It is not. It's first come, first serve, but we can't really tell you which regions fill up, how it works, because there's so many variables involved. So when they get to your application, it depends on what the other people ahead of you ask for. For example, first years who are currently in their first year and they want to renew, they are the first ones placed. Okay, and then after that, it's new applicants, and then it's second year, third years, and fourth years. Please remember that there's a 5-year limit in the program. And how do they know the limit? If on your Profex account, how many plaza aceptadas you have. Can someone write that in the chat, please, so that people understand how you have to count how many plazas aceptadas you have. Obviously you can't have 5. Okay, so that's the thing. And another thing, some renewals are asking questions. We unfortunately don't handle renewals. It's the Ministry of Education that handles renewals. So there's a link. I don't know if someone has that link, if they can put that in the chat. It hasn't opened up yet because the app cycle hasn't opened up yet, but once it does, you'll have information there. Also ask in your regional education office how that works, and at your school, they'll be able to guide you with that. Madeline, anything else that you can address, like with budgeting, with the cost of living, things like that, you know?
Yes. So definitely, like Lisa said, don't be worried about the stipend. It does go a lot further here than it does in the States. For me, like personally, expenses like groceries and such are about a third of the cost in a big city, but again, in a smaller city, it'll be different. Another thing that helped is I looked up prices ahead of time and made a budget from there. So I'd also recommend that too. Yeah, that's basically what I did.
Okay, thank you, Madeline. There are people asking about time-wise. We have a timeline up on our website, and that can be very helpful to you guys, okay, to know the steps. Again, because there's so many different offices involved in this program, we can't get specific in the dates, okay? So these are general guidelines, it's a general timeline, and it's a good idea to take a look and to follow that. I do want to mention here that no one will be contacting you to tell you that your application was not accepted, okay? You have to keep on looking on the Profix portal to see what your status is and how you're moving along. Madeline, is there any insight you can share on that, on how how the process went for you?
I check the portal very often. For sure, because I don't think we get a notification in our email, or I'm not sure if I did. But
They do, let me just interrupt. They do notify you like when they assign you a region, right?
Okay.
And so then your status changes on the portal, okay? Right, so then that was probably what we were talking about, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But you checked very often.
Yes, I checked very often, and with Profex, there are very detailed videos on the website, which I rewatched and rewatched to make sure I did everything correctly. So definitely utilize the resources that we have on the website for that.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, people are asking, for example, other than the 4 required documents, can we submit a resume or teaching English as a foreign language certificate? No, the required documents are the ones that are on our website. You can submit anything you want, but only the 4 documents will be taken into consideration. On the same topic, people are asking, would we only need an official copy of our BA degree if we have a master's degree? A master's degree isn't a requisite for this program. It's only the BA degree, so that's what you need to upload. Okay. Oh, this is a really good question. Somebody's asking, will you be calling our letter writers to ask questions about us? Just wanted to make sure to give them a heads up. Sometimes we have, okay? Sometimes we have, sometimes we've needed to. So sometimes we do reach out to that. It's not something that we do generally, it's randomly. But sometimes we do that. If someone's writing you a recommendation letter, they should also be willing to take a phone call from us in case we need to contact them. Okay, that's really, really important. Okay, I'm currently in Portland, but I'll be moving to my home state of Georgia after I've applied to the program. Should I apply as if I live in Georgia? Yeah, that's also explained on the website. You need to look at the jurisdictions of each of the consulate generals of Spain. All of that is explained on our website and the documentation that you need to have for that, okay? So in this case, if you live in Georgia, that's going to be the Consulate of Miami. But to be able to use the Consulate of Miami for your visa application, you have to make sure that you have the correct documents, which is like a driver's license from the state of Georgia or a student ID from the state of Georgia, okay? That's all explained on our website, and that's also with the visa that's a little bit further out, okay? If you do not get placed in any of your top 3, will you still be placed in another region that has a spot available? Yes, sure. You'll be asked and you can accept the position or decline it if you so choose, okay? So that's a really good. Could one of you please clarify what you mean by the new Profix? It's a refurbished portal. Okay, they're working on it. It's supposed to be a lot more user-friendly. I know there's been struggles in the past. Madeline, you're smiling with Profex, and they're trying to work on it to make it easier for you to apply and more user friendly. Okay, hopefully they'll get it done in time. Madeline, can you talk a little about Profex and your experience with it?
With the instructions, it was fine, but it definitely wasn't as user-friendly as some other application portals I've used in the past. But it was still manageable. So I'm sure an even better one is gonna make it smooth sailing. So
Right, right. And we really work on those guidelines to help you through the process, okay? What things they're asking, what are some things you did, Madeline, to get more immersion or exposure to the local community in your town or city?
yes. Definitely go out for tapas a lot. It's also great. You get to know your teachers too, and become friends with them. Sometimes we have dinners and things like that. So there's also that community there. What else? There's also language exchanges in my city too, which are always fun. Especially brush up on Spanish. And you can also take classes, like you can take a flamenco class, you could take a salsa class. I think those are also great ways to get involved too that are fun.
For sure, for sure. There's also, before I mentioned in my presentation that you could be placed in a language school. These language schools are in cities and bigger towns and stuff, and they also offer Spanish classes. So that might be interesting to try and take a class there with different levels. So depending on your level of Spanish, that might be helpful. What is the average age of participants? As I said before, you can be 18 to 60. The truth is that the big bunch of people are in their 20s, right? A lot of people do this right after graduating from college. That's a big bulk, but there's people in all of these ages, absolutely in all of these ages. Can I submit more than one letter of recommendation? No, only one letter of recommendation, okay? If I applied last year and did not end up going, but withdrew my application, will I be considered a second-year applicant? No, because you didn't do the program, okay? So if you applied last year and had to withdraw your application and you apply this year, you will be a first-year applicant because you did not do the program, okay? What can I do ahead of February 9th? Anybody on the panel have any ideas on that? Juan, Nuria, Yosu, what people can do before February 9th?
Which one of you? Well, Josu or Juan or?
Yeah, when we were referring to all those copies and documents, of course, you can start gathering all the papers and trying to get them ready, because then as soon as the portal, the new Profex opens, you could be already be uploading and taking care of some other sections. But yeah, mainly the documents that you can already have ready beforehand is going to help a lot. And just navigate, as Josu said, through the platform to get familiar with it, because practice makes perfect, and the more familiar you are with it, the better you will perform when you have to submit just the final version of all the documents.
And also,
and I think, sorry, Nuria, I think it's really interesting. Again, I'm saying the same thing, but before I just was referring to the background check, but now to have a general idea of the program. And as Lisa has told us about the timeline of the program, I think it is really important to read the whole process, not just the beginning. We know that now it is really important to get to know how to apply for the program, the first steps and everything. But if you read all the documents we have on our website, you will have a general idea of the program, which is really important, I promise you, because it will be really useful along all the process. So please read information. Everything is clearly explained. You have there all documents, videos, examples, Follow us on our social media. Please do that before the application period begins. We have the TikTok, the Instagram, everything. So follow us and have a general idea of the program, reading all documents, all information we have there. Yeah, that will be really useful. Sorry, Nuria, you were gonna say.
No, but just
interrupt you.
Adding more information to what you've just said. I've just uploaded in the chat the different links to check the information. The first one is the recap of documents that you must have ready for the, when the application process opens. This is what you need to upload. So you've got there the 4 different papers that you need to have done, and also in the timeline here on the link, you can check all the process that Josu has just told you, so that you understand step by step where you are and what you need to follow. Also our website, on the left side of our web page, you've got the different steps you need to follow again after your application is submitted, and then if you have to apply for a visa or what to do in the different steps you need to take. So visit our website, check all the documents are, as Josu said, we spend such, lots of time to do that with, thinking of you, and so that it's useful, helpful, and we hope it helps in order not to have so many questions and do your application fast.
Just a remark here, since both Josu and Nuria were referring to the timeline, there were so many questions, as in when is the final outcome going to be clear, or just coming out with the final results. It's a lengthy process, so we truly appreciate your patience, and it's important that you check the website regularly, but also your application to see the status of it, and if it changes from up until the very last stage, which is aceptada. First is recorded. So please make sure that you, as also Madeleine said, is to visit the website, because it's you taking the responsibility to go and check how your application is going through, and the situation or the status of it.
Yeah, and also the facts. We've got another document which is very useful, and you've got all
everything
what we were saying there, and you can just read it just carefully and
Actually,
see what you need.
The link is on the chat, but also on our website, of course.
And always follow us on social media. Always. You're going to get a lot of information there. Madeline, anything you would like to add on there?
No, I think that about covers it.
Okay, great. That's wonderful. Thanks so much. Okay, there's a question. If a dependent goes with you, is it possible to have the child enrolled in the school you'll be teaching at? That's always going to depend on the school and the placement that you get. Okay, so that's a question that's going to have to be answered once you're there, but probably won't be any problem if you're in a smaller town. If you're in a bigger city, then it could be a problem, because sometimes they don't have placements available, right? You mentioned that city living is more expensive. Again, I really want to stress how the experience that you might be able to have in a smaller town. We have heard so many stories of people who really wanted to go to a bigger city, to Madrid, to other bigger cities. They were placed in a smaller town, and they had an absolutely incredible experience, even renewing again in that same place. It's a different experience. It's a more of an immersive experience, and it's closer to the community experience. So really keep that in mind. And the last question that we're going to take: how long does the application portal stay open? Until it closes, which is April 4th. Okay, here then also remember that time difference. It's going to close at midnight in Spain, which will be 6 hours earlier on the eastern coast of the United States and Canada. Okay, all right. Well, we hope the webinar was useful and helpful. If you were to have any further questions, please write to us at our email address that you can find on the website or in social media. Thank you so much for being here. We really hope to hear from you and receive your applications this year, and we wish you the best. Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you. Bye.